This is the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show, and today I'm here with Spider of POWERMAN 5000.
Yeah, how you doing? Good. I didn't know you were going to be so energetic. I love this.
Tell me about your new album. It's coming out October 6th. Is that correct?
That is correct. October 6th. It's called Somewhere on the Other Side of Nowhere. It's been a long time coming. 3 years since we put a record out, and I dare say, and I know everybody says this when they put a record out, that this is our best album, but it really is.
What in your youth led you into music?
I grew up in a small town in northern Massachusetts where there was no movie theater or record store or anything, and everybody just kind of listened to whatever was on the radio. And I discovered this little thing called punk rock. And so I started listening to stuff like the Ramones and the Clash and the Sex Pistols, and that was really the first kind of music that I found that inspired me to want to make music, because I thought, wow, I don't really need all that much talent to do this. You know, it's more about energy and attitude and just a vibe. And so that was my first exposure to music that inspired me.
As a kid, did you and your brother Rob get into a lot of trouble? Were you troublemakers?
No, well, I was probably more of a troublemaker than he was. He was more of a recluse. He would sort of rebel by just sort of staying in his room and, you know, I guess disappearing into his own little world. And I was more the kid that went out and spray painted on the school and broke windows and things like that. So we're both sort of rebellious, but in different ways.
How did the million-selling success of Tonight the Stars Revolt in 1999 change your life?
I haven't really changed too much. I mean, sort of still am the same person and still go about doing things the same way, but it was more of a surprise than anything, I suppose. You know, I never really thought, you know, when we made that album, we made this weird little, you know, what I like to call a heavy Devo record. You know, it was like this weird metal, electronic, science fiction thing, and I thought maybe a small group of people might get, so I never expected it to be a million-selling record. But it changed my life in terms of I got to meet people I would have never met, I got to go to places I would have never gone to, and it's allowed me to continue to still do this today.
Who was most proud of you during that period of your success?
That's a good question. I don't think anyone ever congratulated me.
Your parents weren't all like, "You've done us proud, son."
Not at all. No. They don't care.
That sucks.
Yeah.
If you could change the past, what would you change about the Anyone for Doomsday period?
That's an interesting question, because I don't know if I would change it, because I think at the end of the day, you know, it's hard to look. You could look back and say, well, I should have put that record out and maybe it would have done big things, or we did the right thing by pulling it, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, the interesting thing about that is that record was scheduled to come out August 28th, 2001, and then, you know, 2 weeks later, a week and a half later, was September 11th. So we were sitting on a record called Anyone for Doomsday, you know, a single called Bombshell, which featured the band performing in a desert landscape with bombs dropping and then on a skyscraper. The tour was called Doomsday in the USA, Coming to Destroy Your Town. So I think at the end of the day, it probably was a good thing that record didn't come out at that time.
What inspired the song Nobody's Real?
Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, I think that, you know, I've always had this sort of obsession with the future and robots and things and sort of, you know, what's real and what's not. And I think that you could look at it on the surface of, you know, people being fake and phony, or you could look a little deeper into the meaning in terms of, you know, what is actually your reality, what is real. And it just sounded cool too, you know. I like songs that function on like the most basic of, you know, dumb rock level, and then if you want to dive deeper, you can.
What inspired the title of your new CD, Somewhere on the Other Side of Nowhere?
You know, it's one of those things, it just was a line that popped in my head one day. I was sitting in my office trying to think of a name for the album, was coming up with, you know, various ideas, and then this thing just sort of, and it sounded like some sort of ancient science fiction novel that you know, or some kind of 70s trip out book or something, so it sounded kind of epic, you know, and almost classic rock in a weird way, but just dumb enough to qualify for a POWERMAN title.
I feel that this album is kind of a return to When the Stars Revolt.
I think you're right. I think in a lot of ways it is. The attitude is a return to that. It's diving back into some of those themes and the look and the image and that science fiction futuristic vibe. but it's done in a much more, I think, modern musical way.
What made you go back to that sound after albums like Transform and Destroy What You Enjoy?
There's an event in San Diego ComicCon, where 150,000 freaks and weirdos show up to celebrate, you know, movies and comics, and I was there, and I was surrounded by all these people, and I found it really inspiring because it was all the stuff that I loved, and I realized there was just this great fan base of people that would really, you know, and I got recognized a lot as the guy from POWERMAN, even more so than maybe at a rock show. So I sort of reinforced the idea of that really is the direction that this band needs to be.
Who came up with the concept for what I call the alien enforcer costumes on the cover of Somewhere on the Other Side of Nowhere?
Well, I gotta tell you, Mr. Velcro, one of our newest guitar players, he's hiding in the corner over there because he doesn't like anyone to see his human form. I think it was, you know, sparked the genesis of the robot on stage, and it's turned out to be a pretty iconic image of, you know, it's really representing the new era of POWERMAN.
What is your mission statement?
Whoa, that's heavy. My mission statement is to, oh man, you totally threw me. That was good. I don't usually get thrown by questions. I don't know if I have a mission statement. I think that at heart I'm a futurist. You know, I like to think about how the future relates to the past and express it through the band and in the visuals and the music. It's not a mission statement. It's more of a life philosophy.
If you knew Armageddon was going to happen, it had to happen, where would you want to be when it hit?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would run directly towards it.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is it is going to happen. You know, here's the interesting thing about thinking about all these silly things we do. Your show, our performance, Disneyland, it's all temporary. I mean, at some point, the odds are that an asteroid will hit this planet. Supervolcano will erupt in Yellowstone. I mean, we are all we're walking and, you know, we're living in borrowed time. It's going to happen. So if you sort of, you know, and I don't necessarily find that depressing. I kind of find that liberating to know that, you know, whatever I miss after I'm gone, I won't miss everything. I only miss a part of it.
Dude, totally. That's how I feel. Off the new album, what inspired the songs? Let's start off with Horror Show.
The term horror show, I kind of lifted from one of the greatest movies of all time, A Clockwork Orange, which is probably in my top 4 movies ever.
Show me what you got.
That's like the song when you say you're 13 years old and you're just starting high school and someone's fucking with you and picking on you every day, but you know at some point you're going to have to throw down. You're going to have to defend yourself. Yeah. That's the song you listen to on the way on the bus.
Make us insane.
Yeah. It's the insanity of the world. There's a great quote in the liner notes of the album from H.G. Wells. He says, "Man is the unnatural animal, the rebel child of nature." And what that means to me is that we just can't find a way to fit in our own world. You know, every other creature seems to have worked it out. You know, they do their thing, and we're just fumbling and stumbling and destroying things and building them and confused and hurting each other. And so I think that the idea of we just sort of make ourselves insane, you know.
If you could change anything in the world, what would it be?
Wow, this is some left-wing PC political answers, but I would, you know, fix the environment. I mean, I think that it is the ultimate sin that what's going on right now, and that people are in denial and just for the almighty dollar. What
are fans saying to Spider on the road about the new album, Somewhere on the Other Side of Nowhere?
Everything we've heard has been positive, and those positive comments are generally, "Thank you, this is what we've been waiting for. We know you like to experiment in other kinds of music, but this is what we feel POWERMAN should sound like, and we're so happy that you're doing it now."
Who do you go to for advice during tough times?
That's a good question. I think one of my worst qualities in the past has been not taking advice enough and thinking maybe I know better. As I've gotten a little older, I've tried to listen to as many opinions as possible, you know, so I think that, you know, everyone's advice and opinions are valid, and I try to sort of get as many as I can and then make the best judgment call, you know.
Do you feel competitive with your brother Rob Zombie?
No, not really. I mean, it's never a matter of, you know, I feel like, you know, he does his thing and I do mine, and if one helps the other, that's great, but it's never been competitive, you know, at least not from my end. I've never thought, I mean, I'm more, you know, I'm more, I look at it more as his early success I took more as inspiration, because he was a guy doing his thing on his own terms. And a lot of times you don't have those success stories to look to. We all have friends that have, oh, my friend got signed to a label and got totally screwed over, and now he's working at Wendy's. And, everybody knows the horror stories, but it was always nice to have a success story to look to, because it always made me think, well, if he can do it, then I can do it, so it was never competitive.
What's next for Spider and POWERMAN 5000?
Immediate future is rocking this fucking club tonight, hopefully. And then we have a tour. Well, the record comes out again October 6th. Please go get it. And then we hit the road later in October for a nice little tour around the country. And then probably take the holidays off and do it again.
And people can check out your MySpace for your tour dates.
That's right, myspace.com/POWERMAN5000. And that's generally where you will find all the up-to-date information.
This is the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show with Spider of POWERMAN 5000 signing off.
The Blairing Out show.